Ciao, it's me again. Not this time. I'm not in Iran, and I'm back to Europe. So, who am I? I will give you a very short bio just to give you a clue that I have something to do with software. Okay, so I started developing software in 1996, and in the booming open source movement. I wrote my first unit test in 2003, when actually writing unit tests was like coming from Papua New Guinea and in New York. I mean, like, what? Are you writing tests? And I founded a first company, a second company. I destroyed both. And then I've been a freelancer for agile development of software. Then I founded another company. And in 2012, I worked for eBay. And then I sold my share of the third company. It went much better. And now I'm a freelance for any, as I told in the video, I work with software companies 40% of my time, but most of my time with other knowledge work related companies. I have a few interests like a cappella music, sailing, and flying gliders. That's all you have to know about me. Okay, fine. So, who is, whatever the definition that you have in your mind, raise your hand and keep it raised, please, if you think that you're using an agile process. Okay. Now, keep your hands raised, or raise your hand now if you're feeling perfectly free to use it in any mean that you are meaning it. Whatever sense that you, are you free to use your agile methods? If not, raise your hands. Are you confused? Okay, I will state it again. Raise your hands if you're not free to use the methods and the methodology that you want. More general scope. Okay. All the rest, do you feel free to use, for example, testing? Have you ever been asked to deliver features rather than testing? Just a few. Okay, so this is not a big problem in this room. Actually, in my own life as an entrepreneur and as a coder, I had many problems in being free to work with unit testing and doing refactoring, because usually I got asked to deliver features and not losing my time on testers, and I was asked to deliver features and not losing time on refactoring. I mean, what's the point of refactoring? Are you coding to get the same features? I pay you to get new features. Does it reflect better your situation? I mean, you're sluggy. So basically, I'm delivering a speech for non-existing need, which I assume is peculiar here because usually it's not. But okay, let's go. So I will tell you my story. What is my need? So basically, my point is that we are all slaves. Okay, this is the point. And if you think this is a harsh way to put it, you should, I mean, reflect on the fact that the first slide that I had in my mind to tell this concept was this. So, okay, but now, let's make it a little bit milder. So, we have all of us working as knowledge workers and programmers and testers. We have problems with a little bit of a tendency to slavery, okay? There are markers. And let's start from the definition of a slave. Slave is a person who works very hard without proper remuneration or appreciation, and a person who is excessively dependent upon or controlled by something. Okay, I was there. I still am, in a measure. And the point is, I want to investigate the root cause. What's the main marker for slavery? The main marker of slavery is that we sell our time. If we sell our time, then we are bound to become slaves. Let me explain you why. First, working, selling our time basically puts an upper bound, sets an upper bound in our revenues. Basically, if you're an employee, for example, you cannot earn more if you work on Sunday, for example. unless you have extra. Many people, at least in Italy, work a lot overtime with no further payments. So usually the de facto situation is that you don't get any more revenues even if you work harder. But still, even if you're an entrepreneur, basically you can only sell 24 hours a day, and it's virtual because you have to sleep sometimes. You can reduce the amount of sleep that you can get. You can reduce the amount of time you spend enjoying your food. You can reduce the amount of relationship that you have. Basically, you can follow any dogma coming from Silicon Valley about the fact that you should be just a working cow 24 hours a day. But still, that's not happiness. And still, even if you do it, 24 hours a day are a very democratic constraint. No one has more than 24 hours a day. Also, selling our time is basically setting ourselves in an asymmetric situation in which if we, when I was a coder, actually, I was a coder up to 2 years ago, okay? So, and I still am doing entrepreneurship in development, okay? But in software development, when someone delivers an amazing feature or builds an amazing architecture for a requested feature, doesn't get anything more than when on the other side we under-deliver and we get punished. So basically, we have this asymmetry so that we don't get any prize for over-delivering and we get downsides of under-delivering. Basically, if you deliver a perfect architecture that will be keeping the cost of the next features low for the next years, usually your boss doesn't give a shit. And if we end up selling our time, we are somehow more loss averse and we don't know how to say no to new customers, to new projects, to new features. Have you ever heard about WIP limit? Okay, fine. Thanks for the hands raised, also for the yeses. By the way, WIP limit, the main root cause of breaking the WIP limit or having a problem in keeping the WIP limit low is that we feel anxiety sending new demand away. And that's the problem because I only have 8 hours per day. I cannot generate any more revenue if I work in a smart way because I'm selling just my time. So I cannot run the risk of having empty hours. And so we keep on feeding our boards with tasks or projects or initiatives, whatever you call them. And so excess demand shows up. And we are always, how many of you have too many things to do than the time that you have available? Okay, so now I'm starting to. So, this is a problem. Where's the water? There's no water anymore. Okay, I have a bucket of sand in my throat. Thank you, thanks a lot. Okay, so excess demand then becomes a problem. Excess demand is when we have too many people asking us to do stuff, too many ideas, for example, to deliver on the market, and we feel guilty or we feel somehow that we have a problem. And excess demand cannot become a problem for anyone. Basically, if I'm too desired, that's not a problem. Selling our time also means that we are forced to be in a given time, in a given place, working for someone. Because if I sell myself by the hour, that you are my customer, you want to be sure that I will be there, sitting there, working there from that time to that time, or at least at that minimal amount of time per day. And remote work doesn't get us freedom. It only makes the chain longer. And last but not least, and this is what I left last because I think it's the more pertaining your reality as testers or people involved in testing software. we have an effect called Umarell effect. Umarell is a very Italian, so actually it's not even told in across all Italy. Umarell is do you know Bologna? Fine. So Umarell is a word from Bologna which describes, it's the name that they give to retired people watching work in progress. This is an Umarell, this is an Umarell, this is an Umarell, amazing, so you stop by, okay? So, and this effect, the word, I mean, for Lithuanian people should be easy, Umarell, as you read it. So, Umarell effect means that if we sell our time, then the customer or anyone interested in our delivery will be questioning the way we spend our time. Because if I pay you 1 hour for software development, I want to make sure that you spend that hour delivering features that I need for my business. And test, I don't need tests. You need tests because you need conceptual integrity, because you need your software to work in the future, or you need to keep the cost of future features low. But you need tests. I don't need tests. And I really think they're right. Tests are something belonging to the world of the costs and not the world of the value. No one out there is buying our tests. This is bad news. So, why do we keep on selling costs? Well, the problem is that since we don't know how to measure what we value, then we end up selling what we can measure, and time is very easily measured. And so we can sell our time. And then we go, for example, have you ever participated in a meeting based on estimation? Estimation. So like all the time, yeah. Unfortunately, most of the time, yeah. So the point is, estimation is exactly that ritual that addresses the need to measure the time so that we have some value to sell, but actually that's not value. And this is the first point of today. If now a meteor hits me, remember me like the one who told you that time and costs are not a measure of the value you're selling, and the price should be based on the value. So, and I promise I will end up with concrete examples, okay? But still, I want to set the field. Discretionary time, the freedom to address, the freedom to put our time wherever we think it's more valuable, it's the key wealth for freelancers, for professionals, and for entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurs who are asking their employees to work on wrong stuff or just selling the time are basically missing the chance to sell something with more volatile outcome, as we will see in a few minutes. And that makes discretional time a key strategical asset. Basically, the chance for professionals to decide that I can be free to work next hour on that customer, or as a professional who codes, next hour I will be free to code that test and not the new feature that they are asking me. This discretionary time is the strategical asset that makes you free to do like that. And so we should sell value rather than time. Let's define value. Output and outcome. Do you know the difference? We can also speak about the difference between asset and liability. So, for example, gold, since millennia, is an asset. I know you come from Stockholm, but I don't remember your name, I'm sorry. Christina. Ciao, Christina. Okay, fine. Christina, if I give you 10 kilograms of gold, or 100 kilograms of gold, what do you prefer?
100.
That's fine. So this set the basis, okay? Now, for the same problem, solution, automation, if I give you 10 lines of code or 100,000 lines of code, what do you prefer?
If it does the same, the 10.
The same, yeah. So The point is, code in itself is a liability. Obviously, it is needed to enable getting some assets, but it's not an asset in itself. Basically, we're saying that if I give you a house, it's the same as I give you 2 mortgages. Okay? Which is not true. I mean, I don't want as many mortgages I could have. This is not something I want to have ad libitum. I don't want code just for the sake of code. I want problems analyzed once, and that solution automated. That's the whole point. Fine. That means that execution, delivery is not the point. So we cannot ask Francesco, is anybody asked you to solve the problem of being asked a given amount of tests? I mean, just after your session, he just delivered a session about test-driven development, and I guess someone at least asked you about having to code tests rather than delivering, right? Yes, exactly. Testimonial, witness, it happens to him, and it happens to the people asking the questions. They are asked to write tests, which is pointless. No one should be asked to write tests. We I mean, it's like asking the goaltender to save at least 5 shots per match when we play football. This is not the point. The point is winning the match. Then, the problem is that when we create value, we can create value any time of the day, in any moment, in any situation, and we cannot sell our time while we are maybe finding the best solution for our testing platform on a Sunday morning while we're having breakfast with the kids. Who's going to pay for the time? No one. Who's going to enjoy the value of that idea? Many people. And probably, since we are in an asymmetrical space, those people won't share that advantage with me. And this is a problem. Slavery, don't forget. Also, impact can be very, very volatile in all knowledge work-based activities. I was working in a company involved it was 2014, so 5 years ago. I was working for a mobile payment company. And in the last year of me working there, I saw most strategical good decisions and ideas coming from the development and not coming from the business, which is questionable, at least for the fact that we still keep on talking about a business and the development in companies which have development as their business. It's pointless. And if you have an idea as a tester which reduces the number of bugs which affect the user experience and you become the best player, and for chain effect, you become the only player in the market, then what's the value of that good idea on a Sunday morning with your during the breakfast with your kids? And this impact can be completely non-linear. And the point is that you can save your money, but you cannot save your time. So basically, the breakfast lost with your kids will never be back. And instead, if you try to earn lots of money, you can have uneven revenues, and you can somehow distribute the volatility of your income for bad times. And that means that if you have one good idea, even quite sparsely on time, during the year, if you have if you rarely have a good idea, but you can somehow share the impact of the idea, then you can somehow still get some discretionary time in between one idea and the other. So basically, I'm saying that you don't have to work steadily. It's better to work creating tons of value, even non-steadily, as long as you can somehow strategically distribute the impact of that value on your life as a company or as an individual. Okay, fine. Basically, the point is that we are always acting like this. We are thinking about the cost, and we want the cost to be segregated. So how do we write tests? If we write tests or not, how do we refactor the code? Do we write any new feature? Did we refactor the code? It's all our business, and we shouldn't share these information with anyone. So another way to phrase it, stop trying to educate your bosses and your customers. They don't have to be educated. They just need the delivery. And you need a way to shape an agreement that lets you be free to deliver doing what you want. So costs should be segregated, and we should only talk with them about the price of something and the value that they're going to get. And we only have to care that value is at least equal to the price, and the price is at least equal to the cost. At least. So basically, it's better if there is a gap here and a gap here. And instead of setting the cost, making like estimation, planning, or even just agreeing on the price and the delivery for a final date, and then setting a price according to the cost, we should first define the value, because we should stop doing stuff that it's not needed in the future, and then define the cost. And in between of these two values, it will be easy to define a price. Okay, Jacopo, thanks. But in real world, nice words, even a little bit confusing, but I want concrete examples. Okay, fine. So, obviously, whenever you can measure the value of what you do, I mean, it's very easy. Any price lower than the value that you're creating for your customer or your boss is a price which is fair enough. But the problem with testing is that we are actually never having a tangible value associated with tests. The problem with testing is that the value of test is intangible. So it's not something that we can exactly and explicitly set as a delivery, so that we can calculate all the rest of our parameters for price and cost of our activity. And especially negotiating is very annoying. I mean, every planning meeting is very annoying. Planning is basically what the way IT people call negotiation. So it's like, how long is it going to take? 3 days. No, it's going to be 2. No, it's going to be 5. And so we all know that it's going to be 3. We start from the extremes, and then we try to meet in between. And this is called positional negotiation. Basically, every time we start negotiating, setting a price which is higher, and they set up a price which is lower than the point we assume we're going to meet, this is called positional negotiation. This positional negotiation is the simplest style by which we negotiate anything. It's very, I mean, they say it's very diffused in the Mediterranean area, like Italy or North Africa, but then I realized that all the literature on the topic is from Anglo-Saxon world, so that suggests something. So the point is that, basically, positional negotiation is detrimental for 3 reasons. First, if I ask 1,000 euros and you propose 500 euros, and we all know that we're going to meet at 750, if I am a better bargainer, then we're going to end up like 900 and 800, which is not the right price for the stuff. And this is a problem in the substance. Basically, the optimum is not reached. Second, the problem is that it's costly, it's not efficient. All the time that we spend negotiating, in the IT it means all the time that we spend in estimation meetings, it's time lost that is subtracted from the real delivery. Third, it's relational. From a relational point of view, it hurts. Basically, if I said to you that this bracelet is 1,000 euro, then when I'm forced or convinced or I concede that it's 750, basically I'm telling you that I was a liar. And no one wants to put their face into to admit that they are lying. And this is also true for developers and managers when they estimate the duration of a delivery and they say, well, actually, it was not that long. It was required less time. I'm sorry. Yeah, we were trying to just add a little bit of buffer for our LAN parties. Okay, so but the point is that this is inherent in the nature of positional negotiation. So, but the value of my work is not measurable. So I write tests. How do I measure the value of my work? I cannot do it, Jacopo. I'm sorry. I am gonna get out of this room with no useful tip to improve the way my value is perceived. Okay, fine. I'm gonna give you just an option. And this option was used by a few companies I know, one of which was the one, Francesco, this guy I'm pointing the laser upon. He worked in a company who used this kind of contract. Please, the reason why I want to give you an example is basically to make all these ends that I put on the table meet. And also because I don't want you to think that I just think in theoretical terms. I mean, these concepts that I've been sharing with you so far, they come from my life as an entrepreneur and as a freelancer. So basically working with the same market that you have, that you feel, that you perceive outside of your activity if you are an independent worker, or outside the company you work in if you're an employee. This is a real life example. Francesco's company was doing it, so I'm talking about him and when we were working together. And don't forget that the key point of examples is that they are a particular story. So I'm 100% sure that most of you, a big part of you, won't find this example being fitting for your own context. Okay? I know it, but the example is particular by definition. Okay? So this is an example, okay? Fine. So when we were working with Francesco, we were working with this very simple contract, just 3 rules. Okay, we were delivering software to customers who were asking us to develop software for their own business needs, okay? It could be a startup, or it could be an established company with a new digital need, okay? Or the need to automate the solution found to a new problem. That's the best way to frame it. Okay, fine. So the 3 rules were very simple. First, we were delivering software in very short iterations. And when I mean short, I mean like every 5 working days, every week, every Wednesday. So every Wednesday we were delivering software. And obviously this assumes that we were capable of doing this. So if we are able to deliver software on a single user story basis, you can deliver software many times per day, and that's what we were doing. So we were just aggregating the release of many user stories per day and making a point every 5 working days. 2, the fee for this kind of development was fixed. So it was not dependent on the scope. It was like, hey, let's meet next Wednesday, and you're gonna give us 8,000 euros, 10,000 euros, 5,000 euros. Every Wednesday we're gonna meet, we bring you something new, and then you pay us. But actually, you're not obliged to pay. Actually, you can see what we delivered. You can judge by yourself if its value is higher than the price that we are setting. And after you can judge that, then you decide to buy it or not. That's all. This very simple contract had very, 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 very nice side effects. Like, the first one was, it was very easy to get accepted, because basically we were saying, okay, we are about to work 5 days for free, and we will be maybe delivering you something next week, but if you want, you don't pay. What's the customer who's refusing this offer? And about offers that you cannot refuse, Italians are, By the way, second nice side effect. Is this charity or were I addressing our need with this contract? I was definitely addressing my own need because that contract allowed me to do refactoring if I wanted, testing if I wanted, outsourcing if I wanted, buying prepackaged solutions if I wanted. All the technical stuff was on me, was on us, was on Francesco's hands. And everything technical was, we were free to decide the shape that it will get. No, I mean, what's the point in discussing, are you writing too many tests this week? I mean, if I dilute my delivery too much, next week you're not gonna pay. And this is obviously one way that we get, and if you are, how many of you attended Francesco's talk before? Okay, do you remember that he was talking about getting feedback any way you can, as frequently as you can? That's exactly what we were doing with this contract on a higher level. Basically, contracts can be the first way to test the way you are working with your own customers or with your own collaborators. It's the most end-to-end feedback cycle that you can have while delivering software. And if you keep on selling time, then you will end up not being free to work the way you want, and the delivery will be discussed in the terms of what you delivered and not what impact you had in the end. And this is also true as professional, as single individual professional with your bosses. If your work shows up being valuable, then no one will be asking you to show that you did the right things. So, I guess with this talk I raised more questions than answers, and that's the reason why I'm ending earlier than planned, because I won't leave room for questions if you have, or if you don't have questions because it doesn't interest you, I think it's respectful to keep it short so that you're too free to move. Any question?